Hi, Revere. Welcome to the Revere Veterans and Community Show. Today we have a special guest. We have a Medal of Honor recipient, Mr. Tom Kelley.
Hi.
It's an honor to have you here, sir.
Good to be back, Morris.
I got to use that word twice. It's an honor to have you because you are a Medal of Honor recipient. You are a Vietnam veteran.
You bet.
And you came here to speak about veteran affairs and things, but first you wanted to talk about Mr. Charlie Baker.
Well, I just want to let the audience know that on Saturday, the 18th of October, at 11 a.m. At the VFW post on Garofalo Street in Revere, there'll be a group discussion moderated by me with about 6 veterans on a panel, and we'll be asking, give people a chance to ask questions of Charlie Baker, who's running for governor, as you may know. Charlie will be there, and all veterans and non-veterans, for a matter of fact, are invited to come. We'd like to have a good turnout. It'd be a chance for you to ask Charlie Baker some questions about how he feels about Veterans Affairs, how he thinks they can be improved, and you can tell him how you think things can be improved. So I'm urging you for next Saturday, the 18th of October, at 11 a.m. at the VFW post 4525 on 10 Garofalo Street, Revere.
Right.
So all are welcome.
Can you give us the list of those 6 who are going to be on your panel?
Well, there's going to be 6 people on the panel. There's going to be Tom Lyons, who's a great veterans advocate from former Vietnam Marine from originally from South Boston. Frank Crowley, who's a Vietnam soldier from Quincy presently. Regina Jackson, who's the veterans agent for the town of Chelmsford. There's going to be Tony Molina, who is from Puerto Rico, and he runs the Puerto Rican veterans of New England out of his place in Roxbury. And Bob Tully, just retired from the Boston Police Department, another Marine, and a 6th-person woman who's a woman Marine, and her name escapes me right now because I haven't met her, but she served 12 years in the Marine Corps, and she currently works for the Northeast Veterans Outreach Center up in Lynn.
Right.
So, and I'll be the moderator.
Good. Mm-hmm. It'll be a pleasure to have you.
Well, it'll be good to be here.
By the way, you were a former of the Mass Veterans Services, in charge of the Massachusetts
Yes, I
Veterans
was
Service.
for about 12 years. Mm-hmm.
Tell us what it was like then and what has changed from the time then to what they have now.
Well, I came aboard in 1998. I had been out of the state for 38 years, basically, because I'd been in the Navy for 30 and then lived down in the Washington, D.C. area, and then came back in 1998. I wanted to get back to my roots. I grew up in Boston, and I was offered a job by the then Commissioner of Veteran Services, a fellow named Tom Hudner, who is another Medal of Honor recipient from the Korean War. He gave me a job on his staff, and several months later he decided to retire, and then Governor Paul Cellucci appointed me to be the Commissioner of Veteran Services, where I did for about 12 years. And at that time, 9/11 hadn't happened yet. We were mostly trying to take care of World War II veterans, or a lot of them. At that time, there were about 543,000 veterans in Massachusetts, I think. The number's down to about 300-something thousand now. But there weren't really too many great challenges. The veterans had been veterans for a long time, if you will, and there hadn't been a war for quite a while, and so things were going along fairly smoothly. And then all of a sudden, 9/11 came along, and of course the country got put on a war footing, and all these young men and women getting called up, or all volunteers, of course, but they were being mobilized to go overseas to Iraq and Afghanistan. And when they coming home, we were faced with a whole new set of challenges, because for the first war in memory, these men and women had been close to the battle, everybody, for the entire tour while they were over there. There was no such thing as a rear echelons over there, because they have IEDs and artillery and all these things that, and they have soldiers from the other side pretending to be good guys and are dressed up as good guys, and then shooting and killing American troops. And so, and another thing that made it more difficult was that for the first time, troops were being deployed over and over and over again. When I was in Vietnam, and for most people who went to Vietnam, you served 1 year, 365 days, or in case of the Marine Corps, 13 months. In World War II, you joined and you stayed over there for,
right, 4 or 5 years.
For the duration, if necessary. But these kids and young men and women, they're coming back from deployment, just getting barely to get reunited with their families and friends and civilian life, and then getting called up and sent back over again, over and over, multiple deployments, 4, 5 times. And it causes a great mental strain on not only the soldiers, but also on their families. And so we were been grappling on how to deal with that problem ever since 9/11, basically. It's led to dramatically increased rate of suicides among veterans. It's led to what used to be called shell shock back in the old days. Now they have a term for post-traumatic stress, but it's caused by being exposed to dramatic, stressful situations, and you don't get rid of it easily, and you keep it with you, and it changes your life.
I know. My brother Lewis, by the way, who was a Korean vet, he came back home shell-shocked.
So, you know, there's a lot of mountains to climb, and the VA come under a lot of criticism over the last year or so, but in my opinion, they're doing a bang-up job to address these problems head-on. They're hiring more and more mental health experts. Another issue that's it's good news and bad news, I guess, because of the increase in improvement in medical care on the battlefield. More and more veterans are living longer, or surviving, I should say, in spite of dreadful wounds, amputations, loss of limbs, this, that, and the other thing. So the good news is they're living longer and they're surviving. The bad news is, you know, we have to figure out how to do a better job of taking care of them for the rest of their lives, because they're gonna be ours for the rest of their lives, and we need to do that as the American people. Have to just tighten up the belt and do that.
Right now. Before we went on the air, we discussed some of the things here, and I'd like to put them on the air, such as what are the issues for veterans, such as housing, education, employment, and health care, but take them individually.
Yeah, well, they're all important, and those are, in my opinion, the 4 major challenges facing returning veterans. Health care probably is number 1, because, as I said, the mental health aspects and the physical injuries they may have suffered. And again, we're lucky here in the Boston area because we have a real good VA system. Within the Boston VA healthcare system, we actually have 3 major hospitals within the Boston system, in Jamaica Plain,
West Roxbury,
and Brockton. Right. They're all part of the Boston VA healthcare system. Another one up in Bedford, another one out in Western Mass in
Springfield?
No, not Springfield. It's Northampton.
Northampton, right.
And in addition, you have community-based outreach clinics around the area. And we were talking before. I think there's one in Lynn, but I don't want to go out on a limb and say that until somebody checks on that. But I know there's one in Lowell, there's one in Plymouth, there's one in Worcester, and one down in the Cape.
Right. And
so that's the healthcare side of it. But I should add that for returning veterans, particularly, or any veteran for that matter, if you don't come forward and tell the VA, or tell a medical person that you're having issues, whether they're mental issues, whether they're physical issues, then we're not going to know it. And I urge you to take advantage of the great system we have, to step forward and seek the help that's available to you. So that's the healthcare portion of it.
I never used to go to the VA. I used to go to my private doctor. But one time there was a lady at the VA administration in Revere, and she told me to go to Jamaica Plain because being a veteran, I would get a full checkup, and they discovered that I had cancer.
Wow.
With a PSA count in the high 30s, almost 40 to be exact. And the VA hospital in Jamaica Plain has been very, very good to me over the past 10 years.
Good.
So they do an excellent job for the veterans, Tom.
That's good to hear. It really is. You know, you hear horror stories.
I was going to say that, right.
I haven't had any personal experience, and I haven't heard too many bad stories here in Massachusetts. But getting back to suicide, there was one unfortunate case where about a dozen years ago, where 10 years ago, a Marine from Central Mass came back from Iraq, and he had some serious issues, substance abuse and violence, and this, that, and the other thing. And his parents were very concerned about him. They took him to the VA, not in the Boston area, but a different VA, and said he's suicidal. And the VA said, well, we'll give you an appointment in about 28 days or something like that. And a young man went home and took his own life that next morning. So that was a wake-up call for all of us. And we at the Department of Veteran Services got the mom and dad involved in setting up a program to help these returning veterans identify and treat these hidden wounds of war, we call them.
Right. Now, I used to work in Boston, so when I would go up like past Government Center on Core Street, they would have a homeless shelter there for veterans.
Oh, yeah.
But yet I would see some of them sleeping out in the wintertime outside over there by the grating just to keep warm.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a tough issue, and the Secretary of the VA, who's now gone, General Shinseki, he pledged to eliminate veteran homelessness in, I think, 5 years or something, and I think they've made some inroads into that. But here in Massachusetts, the department that I was once with is very proactive in setting up supportive housing for veterans, for example.
Yep, we have it in Revere too.
And supportive housing, by that, it used to be that if a veteran was homeless, it would generally, very frequently, this person had some other issues, whether it's substance abuse, mental illness, or whatever. And the feeling at that time, up until recently, was, well, let him clean up his act first, and then we'll let him come to our shelter.
Also, in other words, if he was like a drug addict or an alcoholic, he couldn't get into the housing.
But now, I think the new concept is called supportive housing. It's a collaboration between the VA and the Department of HUD on the federal level, where they actually provide a home or an apartment for this particular veteran, and they also give him or her the services needed to overcome their problem at the same time. So even though you have a substance abuse problem, you can go into this, get a voucher, Section 8 public housing voucher, and the help you need is right there. The VA provides the help. The state of Massachusetts, in some cases, would provide the help. And I think that's a more successful model.
So there's no reason for any veteran to be really homeless now.
There really isn't. One issue is that some veterans have what they call bad paper. And it means that their discharge was less than honorable when they were discharged from the service. And those people are not eligible for VA health care service, which is a shame, but it's the way the law is written right now. So they don't have the benefits or access to the benefits that veterans with good paper, honorable discharges, are entitled to.
Right.
So some of the people you see lying on the heated grates, you know, they could be a veteran, but it could be a veteran who got on the wrong side of the law and was basically kicked out of the service. And there are some people, I've talked to people myself who, you know, don't feel comfortable in a shelter environment. They'd rather be on their own, whether it's sleeping under a bridge or on a park bench.
I've seen that.
And I've talked to them, and I'm sure you've talked to them, and it's hard to convince them otherwise.
Right here in Revere on Shirley Avenue. I saw one sleeping right on Shirley Avenue on North Shore Road, right on the corner there.
I would say one more thing about the VA. A lot of veterans, particularly Vietnam veterans, after their experience, were very reluctant to go to the VA because they really, at that time, were not treated very well by the VA. And a lot of them developed substance abuse and other problems. But back in the around 1980, I think, the VA came up with what they call vet centers, which are basically storefront operations where you can just walk in off the street if you're a veteran. You have to be a combat veteran, my understanding is, but if you're a combat veteran, you just walk in and you'll be talking to another veteran, a peer-to-peer type of thing, who's there to help you. And they're trained social workers. They're very, very good and very effective. And everything you say is kept private. and you don't have to go to the big VA, which intimidates some people.
I know they had one in Malden at one time. I remember stopping by to talk to one of them. I would like to ask you a question about the dates of the issues here, about dates. Some dates that the federal government has when the war was officially ended does not agree with some of the dates that the state of Massachusetts has. What is the reason for that, if you know, if you could?
Well, I don't recall all the dates, but I know...
can I talk about mine for a minute?
Yeah.
When I was in the service, President Harry S. Truman declared December the 31st, 1946, the official date as World War II end, even though it ended on May the 8th, 1945. That's why I'm considered a World War II veteran, because up to December 31st, 1946. But not all states have them, and I was wondering why.
Well, I don't recall the exact dates here in Massachusetts.
Approximately.
I thought they were pretty much in line with the federal statutes, but the guy that can answer that question for you, you're very lucky here in Revere. You've got a tremendous veterans agent.
It's Nick Boer.
Nick Boer. Go ask Nick, and he can tell you all the dates. Smart guy.
Very intelligent, and by the way, a very good, I call him the commissioner of Veteran Affairs,
Well,
like Francisco
I call him
Ureta.
the king, you know. Might as well call him king, because he does a great job.
Right, and he's also a Vietnam veteran.
Yes, he is.
Him and I sometimes disagree on one word. He says the Vietnam era.
Oh.
I don't understand what they mean, Vietnam era.
No,
if you were in the Vietnam War, you're a Vietnam veteran, whether you were in America or overseas.
Well, that's a term they use, and it's a Vietnam veteran is generally somebody, in my mind, somebody who actually served in Vietnam. A Vietnam era veteran, ERA veteran, is somebody who was in the military during the Vietnam period, but did not deploy to Vietnam. And you know, there's basically no difference. They all served, and
Right.
they would have gone if they.
Somebody had to stay home to take care of the paperwork or do
It's not a demeaning term, believe me. It shouldn't be anyway.
No, I never used the word era. If you if I had a Vietnam veteran here who never left the States, I would consider him the same as a Vietnam veteran.
Doesn't bother me at all.
Right, like you, Tom.
Yeah.
Now I would like to get back to you at the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to mention. You may wonder why I'm here on behalf of Charlie Baker and.
Right, I was going to get to that. Was my second one.
For this event on the 18th of October. When I retired from state service 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago now, Charlie, whom I barely knew, I'd met him once, I think, in my life, called me up and said, "Hey, are they going to do a tribute for you or a party or anything like that?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Would you like to have one?" I said, "No, not really." He said, "Well, how about if we do it and link it to a veterans charity or something?" I said, "Okay, I'll go along with that." So we linked up with an outfit called the Mass Soldiers Legacy Fund,
Right.
headed by a fellow named Peter Travato, who is not a veteran, but is a UMass hockey player. And they provide educational financial assistance to children of men and women killed in combat from Massachusetts, dying active duty from Massachusetts. So we said, yeah, we'll do that. We had this great party at the Heinz Convention Center, and 600 people were there, and $300,000 was raised for that particular charity,
Yep.
Mass Soldiers Legacy Fund. So if you're looking for a good charity to contribute to, if you got some extra change in your pocket, that's a good one. It's mslf.org, I believe, and every penny they collect goes to financial educational assistance to children of veterans.
Right, I would like to take a minute, Tom. We have a non-veteran here. Maybe you know him, Al Terminello Jr.
Don't know him now.
Well, he's in charge of the Revere Veterans Committee. He's a non-veteran, but let me tell you, that guy does so much for veterans, sometimes more than veterans themselves do for veterans.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to be a veteran in order to help take care of veterans, that's for sure.
So, Al, if you're listening out there, thank you for your service. Right. Now, I want you to, I have a picture here, which a friend of mine got me off the internet. And it has Medal of Honor recipient, maybe you know him, Jack Jacobs.
Oh, I know Jack, very dear
Can you
friend.
tell us a little about Jack?
Well, this particular tribute that I talked about for me 3 years ago, so Jack actually came up from New York, and he and I sat up on a stage at the Heinz and had kind of like a dialogue back and forth talking about the war and serving in the military and this, that, and the other thing. And he's a very funny guy. He was a great hero in Vietnam. He's from New Jersey originally, went to Rutgers University, ROTC, then served eventually close to 30 years in the United States Army. And he's one of the brightest guys I've ever met, and also one of the most self-deprecating persons I've ever met. I mean, never pats himself on the back. But you may see him on MSNBC. He's got his own TV show on there sometimes.
Oh.
And he's witty, clever, and just a heck of a good guy.
Right. Then there's another gentleman that is there with you, Ed Frank.
Ed Frank. That's a name I don't remember. Is he still going around?
That I don't know.
I don't think he might have been from an earlier generation.
And then, of course, we got to talk about the doctor that saved you, Richard Doc Nelson.
Oh, yeah. Second-class corpsman, E5, Navy corpsman. In the firefight I was in, under heavy fire, he brought his boat alongside my boat after I'd been hit and jumped aboard in the middle of a firefight, as I said, rounds coming in, small arms, automatic weapons, RPGs, you name it. And tended to me, basically saved my life,
Right.
Stabilized me, and allowed me to keep going until we were able to beat the enemy and withdraw, and I got medevaced out of there by helicopter.
Right, Tom. And talking about veterans, your wife, Mrs. Kelley, was also a veteran.
That's right. She served 20 years in the Naval Reserve.
Right. And how many years have you been married?
We just had our 9th wedding anniversary 2 days ago.
Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
Mrs. Kelley, congratulations to you, too. We had her here last year, and
That's
she is a
right.
terrific woman.
Thank you very much.
We got about 5.5 minutes left. Tom, since you are a Medal of Honor recipient and you did so much for us, I'm going to let you take 4 of that 5 minutes and give it all to you. Do whatever you want with it. You can talk about your experience, your kids, whatever you wish.
Okay, well,
Your education.
yeah, I'm a Boston boy. Went to Boston College High over in Dorchester. Then I went to college at Holy Cross up in Worcester, Mass. Graduated in 1960. Went to Officer Candidate School, and in 90 days, I was a 90-day wonder. I became an officer. And served 30 years in the Navy.
Excuse me, Tom, I got to interrupt you. When I was getting out of the Army, they asked me if I wanted to go to the 98, but they said we had to sign up for 4 years. Did they say that to you, too?
At that time, I think it was only 2 or 3. But,
Yeah, with us it was 4, and that's when I gave it up.
Well, it varies, too. It depends on how badly they need people. They must have needed people pretty
Then they didn't need
badly.
me at all, Tom. Okay.
Well, they let me in, because I had tried earlier to get into the Naval Academy and a couple of other places, but because of my very poor eyesight, I couldn't get in. But by the time I graduated, I guess the standards for Officer Candidate School were a little less when it comes to
Right.
eyesight. So I served 30 years, as I said, and mostly on destroyers. Had 5 years consecutively over in Japan and Korea during peacetime, which was a lovely tour. I liked it over there. And then I retired in 1990. So I had a great Navy career, and I recommend military service for anyone. Of course, nowadays it's an all-volunteer force. When I was joining the service, there was a draft, and of course in Vietnam the draft was heavily utilized. And but even for draftees, I think most of them will admit that the military service is one of the highlights of their life because of the camaraderie, the teamwork,
Right.
the purpose. Always focus on a goal, but relying on the person on either side of you to reach that goal. And I think it's I encourage it for anybody, and I kind of lament the fact that there is no compulsory service now. But there are other ways to serve your country, whether it doesn't have to be in uniform, and there are other ways to show courage. I'm talking particularly now to youngsters and oldsters, for that matter. To me, the concept of moral courage is much more difficult to accept than actual physical courage. By moral courage, I mean having the guts to stand up and tell somebody that they're wrong for doing that, or they shouldn't be bullying that kid over there, or no, I don't want the answers to the tests that you stole from the teacher because I want to do it on my own, and shame the person into, throwing it away or something. To me, that's real courage. And,
I would like-
anybody can do that.
I would like to say one thing. the best years of my life were in the Army. I enlisted, and I think the Army or the Navy or any armed force service would be the best thing for every high school kid who graduates high school, if he doesn't go to college, to go into the service, because he would get a good education just there. And I took my basic training at Fort Dix. I went over, I was stationed in Berlin, I was stationed in Vienna, Salzburg, Austria, Munich, Germany, beside other towns which I won't mention. So I had a good time there
Well,
too.
the countries that do have compulsory military service, I'm thinking of Israel and South Korea, both of them. Everybody, almost without exception,
It's good.
Has to serve, yeah.
Right. So Tom, I want to thank you as an honor for the city of
Good to be
Revere.
here, Morris.
It's an honor for the city of Revere, an honor for America to have you
Well,
as a guest on our Revere Veterans and Community Show,
It's
because you are a real hero
Well,
and a
thank
real
you.
veteran.
Thank
And
you very
thank you. No, I thank you, sir. And you know,
Hope to see you on the 18th, by the way.
Okay, I'll be there, and I salute you for your service, sir.
I salute you too for yours.
Thank you, Tom, and
Take
it was
care.
an honor to have you. And to the people of Revere, thank you for listening. Until the next time we see each other, God bless our troops, God bless the people of Revere, and especially our great country, the United States of America, and thank you.